think this is lined up to be a proper banger. Anyhow, spawning over in the top left-hand side of Cosmic Sapphire as our Red Zerg, representing the Shopify Rebellion, it is Lambo.
And in the bottom right side, we're looking at the main base of the man who's trying to snap the streak. Currently on a 0-8 streak in competitive matches versus his opponent. He wants to turn that around, and we know that he has the skills to turn that around. This is our Blue Protoss, playing from the Team Liquid headquarters in Utrecht, SKillous.
Not many casters can say that right in the StarCraft 2 scene, actually. Maybe none of them can besides you, so I'm glad I've got you with me. But you obviously get to cast these two quite a bit, duking it out. If there's anything you could say to SKillous when it comes to him against Zerg, or him against Lambo in particular, what would you say he needs to work on or improve at this point if it is so lopsided between them? Because they're both very damn good top Europeans, so...
That's a good question, Benny. I don't know what I would tell him, but maybe I would tell him to just play like me, and that's exactly what he's doing. Next is first, baby. We're back. It's back on the menu. No, I think if I recall a couple of the games, because I actually made them the main event in a little Friday night event I was running called the Basilisk Big Green Bouts. In that series, they actually had it was a co-main event, excuse me, but they had a few really good games, and there was that one game on Inside and Out where I really thought SKillous already had it, but sometimes SKillous gets a bit carried away, where it's like he weathers the storm, but then instead of thinking that there is a part 2 of the storm, he starts thinking of like the next 5 to 10 minutes, while Lambo is really focused on the next 45 seconds. And I feel like that's how a couple of secure W's slipped out of SKillous' hands. So maybe it's, just stay laser focused, right? And don't try to get too carried away. Don't plan too far in ahead, because we know that Lambo has killer instinct almost second to none when it comes to this matchup, right? He can look super dead and buried, but if there is one little way for him to still win, he will capitalize on it and he will go for that play.
Yeah, when I think of Lambo in a CVP, it's about getting almost maxed out with Ling Bane, Roach Ravager, and just absolutely powerhousing his opponent from multiple angles. He survives very solidly, like he's pretty bulletproof when it comes to early on stuff. And in the past, he's been a proper menace with all that Nida shenanigans and queen drops and what have you. But, those have faded out a little bit out of the meta, that is. But here, he got to spot that it is indeed a Nexus first. And I wonder if he's happy about that, or if, some of that Rotterdam PTSD is coming back.
I don't think he has a whole lot of that, mate. Can beat me with Protoss, Terran, or Zerg. It doesn't really matter to Lambo. Well, this is, by the way, if you talk about greed in this matchup, this right here from SKillous is ultra greed. You know, the funniest thing is, if our observer could just select anything of SKillous right now and show his vision, then this is outrageous. Do not try this at home. The man goes next to first, 3 bases, 3 minutes into the game, and he hasn't made it past the halfway mark. Like, okay, there is greed, and there is next level greed. The idea behind this with SKillous is that he just goes for a super quick Dark Shrine, and honestly, this is giving me Strange vibes, man, because this is the kind of stuff that Strange was pulling out as well in his game against Elazer.
It's really cool, man. It's really cool. Like, there was a player on ladder. In fact, he's probably still playing ladder to this day. But whenever I played Fighting Frog, you had normal Protosses that were taking their third at, like, let's say the 4-minute mark and stuff. Fighting Frog, 3 minutes or pre-3 minutes. And it was always like this. So this is giving me flashbacks to those days. But yeah, this is the kind of thing that can really throw Lambo off. He's getting a lot of overlords ready, meaning that he's going to have a lot of supply to use here, like a lot of supply.
Well, I think this is a bad thing for Lambo, because Lambo feels that he can just go ahead and kill SKillous with a couple of roaches to the other side of the map. And Ben, this is giving me a flashback of that Raynor versus Strap game a long time ago on that stupid tiny map, with the slow zones, the one that Beckett Industries. And basically, Raynor made an attack like this. It was a bit different how the game shaped up at that point. And these attacks are very hard to deal with, but they're not that hard to deal with if you've got DTs. Lambo has no lair, so what can Lambo really do here? Like, maybe you get probes, maybe, just maybe you get the Nexus, but Lambo needs to start getting ready for Dark Templars. He's got 0 Spore Crawlers at the moment, and even though he has a big army, he cannot kill Dark Templars.
No, he can't. I mean, SKillous doesn't have a lot defending, and I mean, DTs are obviously very expensive, But yeah, the DTs are in now. They're dealing the damage. And Lambo, nice little surrounds here. I like that he's making multiple spores. Those DTs need to focus the right units here. But DTs defensively as well. Lovely building positioning to make this all very awkward.
Now this is just going to get very hectic. I got to say the 1DT was derping a lot in the natural. These Dark Templars for SKillous will clean things up. The question is, how much will he lose? Well, even if he loses basically everything here when it comes to the probes, he's still 8 workers ahead. And he can actually just kill a hatchery, man. There is a Spore Crawler that's going to run over, but I don't know if that Spore is going to be in time. Queen has enough energy for 1 transfuse, and apparently it will be just enough. You know, if SKillous was less greedy and he would have sent both DTs into that base, 100% that he gets the kill. Instead, he kind of tried to create chaos by going into the natural, into the third. But it worked out for SKillous, let's be real. He's 20 workers ahead, and the next time that Lambo can attack, SKillous will have Blink. The only thing that SKillous needs to do now is exactly what I said in the beginning of the game. Don't get too carried away, right? Don't start preparing for minute 12. You need to get ready for the next wave of Lambo, because Lambo is not happy with how this game has gone. Lambo wants to end it right here, right now.
Yeah, I mean, he can afford to stop probing, like he really can,
Yes,
and he's
needs
still
to.
probing like a madman. And I mean, he sees the first wave of links now. That's almost thankful, but he sees the big army on the left side as well. I love this building positioning by SKillous on this map.
Yep, but Lambo will still find his way through. It's going to get on top of the pylons, and that could actually unpower 4 gateways. Okay, that's kind of problematic. We still have at least a few weapons, but there is no battery here ready yet. The Archons are going to get some very good shots off, though, on the links, and that means that most of the links will die. We have warped in a couple of extra Stalkers. Stalkers have +1, and I do think, Ben, that the streak should end here.
Wow.
Lambo is never going to kill SKillous, and after losing 8 games in a row in a competitive environment, SKillous snaps the streak. Honestly, with a build so greedy, you deserve a 10-yard penalty for it. But hey, he made it work.
I mean, what's in that Protoss water recently, man? Like, this was strange today, being crazy and having some cool DT plays, and then SKillous brought it out as well. And they make it look like it's what you should have been doing the whole time, right? Like, it looked really solid, and it's kind of difficult to punish. So I guess Lambo thinking, okay, that's way too greedy, but it was like so greedy that it was fine with the DTs. What would you say would have been the best move against that?
I mean, there's a million things that SKillous would have died against, right? You can try this build right now on the ladder. You're going to run into a 5.2k, maybe the Muslim Zerg barcode, and he's going to Baning Boss you and you're super dead. Or you're going to get attacked by a couple of roaches a lot earlier than these roaches. You'll be super dead. Even a Link Flood would kill your Nexus and would reveal the fact that you're going DT. So, like, SKillous is built, that's not something you can do again. Now, we cannot load into game 2 and be like, you know what, Data C, Nexus first, 3 bases, 3-minute Dark Shrine, and we're not scouting, because then you're playing way too freaking risky. But hey, to just throw a build like out there once, get a little win on the board, and now play a much more standard and solid game 2, that's obviously one way to tackle a best of 3, and obviously get some momentum on your side, right? Give yourself a little bit of a confidence booster against a guy who quite simply has had your number lately, and that's the way it has been. In the bottom left side, we're looking at the main base of a man who we know can get a little annoyed over certain builds that shouldn't even be built. I'm sure he's fuming on the inside. Can he turn things around? Representing the Shopify Rebellion, it's Lambo.
And spawning over in the top right, as our blue Protoss, it is SKillous.
Exactly, gonna go Nexus first again, by the looks of it. Like, that is not the craziest thing. You can definitely go Nexus first, but Nexus first without a scout, I think that's already pushing it a little bit. But maybe he just feels that Lambo will never believe that I'll do this 2 games in a row. So I'm like, even a 12 pull, man. If you get 12 pulled while going Nexus first and you don't scout, you're super dead, mate. Like, you're 100% super dead.
And he's risking it, man. He's absolutely risking it for the biscuit. But in these high pressure situations, because if SKillous wins here, like, you know, he's guaranteed to go through in top 4, which is lovely for him, right? But if he loses, I don't think it gets shaky for him in the top 4. I'm actually not sure what it looks like in the rest of the group. I think he's looking pretty good. Like, he's already played Hero Marine. Did he beat Mana already?
Yes, I think they played. I'll take a look.
Alrighty. Which is definitely a good position for SKillous to be in. And then I think he's definitely looking pretty from the looks of it. But yeah, I love these kind of builds today, man. Like I'm seeing all these GT plays come out. They're obviously quite difficult to deal with. A lot of the Zerg meta right now is about dealing with those Stargate plays, about like the 2 or 3 oracles and whatever comes afterwards, along with the Adept Blades, and you throw this other thing into the mix. All of a sudden, it's like, well, all these builds, these timings that I've got so lined up for the other builds that you've got, this just makes it all really damn annoying.
You know, it makes me smile as well that we do have a Zealot on the way. I wonder if he actually lets his Zealot finish up or not. Maybe this is a just in case it was pulled before hatch, or there are early links running to my side of the map. But I'm obviously a big fan of Nexus first. It's just like personal preference, right? This is the way that you know how a build flows and you feel comfortable with it. And I remember Harston talking about my opening a long time ago, and he's like, a Zealot? Why do you have a Zealot? Like, what's up with the Zealot? That's so weird. But it just kind of makes sense because you don't want to have random links running into your main. And if you go Nexus first, obviously you have a later Cybercore. So the Zealot actually kind of sneaks in the build order relatively well. And I guess that's why we have a Zealot, and Skillet agrees. He does go for a Zealot. So far, he is kind of doing the same thing as the previous game, but we know that he's building a Stargate. So he is obviously switching it up. But honestly, once more, very greedy start. And actually... Man, is he going to do this again?
He's going to go for it really quickly. Like, I like builds that show the same thing to your opponent. So we showed like a sentry early on, which is kind of a weird thing to make early on. So his opponent, like Lambo, might be thinking, oh, you trying to DT me again, bro? But the thing is, like, he's not at all. He's totally gone for a different tech choice here.
Yep. But other than that, it's the same. It is extreme greed out of Skillous. Let's be real. It's once more 3 minutes and 40 seconds into the game. And you know what Skillous has seen? His main, his natural, and his third base. He has not sent anything out whatsoever. I mean, if you would ever do this against Bly or Reaper, you're literally dead at this point. There are 6 roaches running into your natural, and you're like, all right, maybe that wasn't the greatest build, but he's just banking on the fact that Lambo won't do something ultra extreme early on, and Lambo can only ever be aggressive by the time that he sees what's up. But that's what he tried last game, and then it's too late, right? We do have an Overlord flying into the main base, though, and this is a good scout for Lambo, so it's still somewhat of a normal game, but then it's not normal because the Protoss economy is a lot better than it's supposed to be.
Yeah, I guess likewise, though, the Zerg eco, like he hasn't had to make any battle units so far. If we look at how many Zerglings he got on the field, 2. And he's just been droning. So Lambo obviously read this game a lot better than the previous one. And that scout with the Overlord in the main base was massive. He got to see the oracles as they were making, the camping oracle as well. Got to see the twilight when it was going down. And yeah, he's just droned up like a madman. But he's only just kept up with the Protoss pretty much, which just goes to show how crazy greedy this build is.
And now it really just comes down to, are the queens in the right position? And I think it's safe to say so far they are. Skillous thought he was taking a smart route kind of through the middle of all the defenses, but that just meant that 4 or 5 queens even were in range to fire at those oracles. And it's not a pretty start, man, when you lose almost every single hit point on one of your most important oracles, and you didn't even get to activate Pulsar Beam.
No, definitely not. I mean, these oracles, obviously, they have other uses throughout the game, but yeah, you would like to ideally get a little bit of damage, or at least not take any. He got neither one of those. But he is probing up still really hard, 3 at a time. It's all I see on the production tab from him. He's also getting quite a lot of gases down. Very often you don't have to go this high on the gas, but that makes me think that he wants to get his tech going. He wants to be even greedier behind all this. This is really crazy out of Skillous.
Yeah, he's probably okay. Oracles do find a couple of drones that are being transferred towards the 4th base, and he even drops a revelation, kills 1 or 2 of these active tumors. It's probably going to be like a nice mix between a lot of stalkers, good upgrades, and then maybe a relatively quick Templar archives. There we go. Because he probably feels that Lambo is going to be very heavy on the links. Lambo actually drops the Spire too, which could play out in a big way, but obviously Stalkers with upgrades are not bad, especially if Skillous can get ready for it. Then I don't think the Mutas are that terrifying. If Lambo can keep the Spire hidden, then they obviously always have a lot of potential.
Certainly do. Lambo's +1 melee has finished up here, keeping the oracles alive, and Lambo's going to do his best job that he can of keeping those oracles at bay, because they don't want to be sneaked behind the natural and the main. A, because that's a nasty place to have them, and B, that's where his Spire is. But Lambo's knocking out some really big upgrades here. +2 melee, Baneling speed, Roach speed. He's had a lot of time to power up, and he's got up to 86 workers here, and he's still going. So he's also turned into the monster greedy Zerg, but rightly so.
Wow, look at that production tab though, Ben. That is a Phoenix for SKillous on the way. So SKillous is like, you know what, mate? You're going up to 5 bases. The only thing that I've seen from you so far are Lynx and Queens. I'm sure you've been mining some gas. A hallucinated Phoenix is going to try to get the confirmation. SKillous will find this fire. What a big call. What a big scout. What a big read to already fire up that first Phoenix before. Does donate an Oracle, and even the second Oracle is on the fire. Like, Lambo's in trouble if SKillous just makes 4 or 5 Phoenix defense and then makes a devastating attack of Archons, Stalkers, and Zealots with charge and +2. Because Lambo's army is not going to be very good against that, man.
No, I mean, Lambo is really gearing up for that kind of army that's hit and run and keep you at home. So if SKillous just isn't that worried and can move out at the same time with a really scary army, because this isn't like a meaty Roach Ravager squad. No, this is Ling Bane Muta. Oh my god, he's making so many drones. I mean, Lambo is greedy and he is prepped to keep SKillous home, but let's see what he does.
The Mutas will almost do nothing, man. We have so many cannons and batteries, so unless SKillous makes like a terrible misclick with the Phoenix, he's gonna be fine. Lambo is gonna double down on Spire play, as he does kill a Phoenix there, I believe, so that's pretty good. Muta micro so far. There are batteries, there are cannons. Now that's a lot of that Mutas. So Lambo is gonna play Muta, Link, Corruptor, but he's also going up to Hive. Kind of feels that he's doing a little bit of everything. SKillous just wants to right now see his army supply grow. You get a few more pylons, you make sure you don't take any big damage in the next 40 seconds, then he's going to max out on a vastly superior army compared to Lambo.
I mean, Lambo, he's in that position where he can no longer really add supply, right? Like, all he can do is turn these Zerglings into Banelings, which are really good, but not necessarily the best against these chunky boy Archons, which are heading into +2. And look at SKillous, by the way. Like, he is starting to make Phoenix 2 at a time, getting the +1 air weapons as well. He's respecting the air number. He really is. And he's making a lot of correct calls here. And his army, as you said, can still grow. Lambo's making a lot of static D, though. He's ready. He knows how this game is most likely going to go.
Yeah, but static defenses for the Zerg are just not going to be all that great against Archon, Zealots, Stalkers with +2. And I think the moment that SKillous has any Impulse Crystals, he gets a few more ground units, he is going to attack. And I really wonder, will Lambo rush into a Greatest Fire? Because I almost feel like that's the only real play he has here, right? Obviously, we can fire up Adrenal Glands. That's pretty good. What else? Yes, it is Greatest Fire. Started the second Hive.
Ultralisk Cavern might be really good in this case as well. I mean, this army, this ground army alone, isn't the scariest thing in the world, but he's going to use all his gas on 39 Banelings here. He's also getting ranged attacks, so maybe going to switch into Roach Ravager at this point, just for something to make. All those Mutas, sad Mutas.
Yeah, these Mutas are all super dead. And that's actually going to give SKillous extra confidence. SKillous was probably already very confident, but he was preparing for the proper late game as he's making his first few carriers. But after killing that many Mutas, SKillous made us be like, you know what, maybe it's time for me to start cleaning up some creep. Lambo has done an amazing job with his creep spread. But the fact that Lambo has 97 drones and still 8 Corruptors, honestly, it makes his army very tiny and quite frankly quite weak too.
Yeah, I mean, SKillous is doing all the right calls, isn't he? Like, he can kind of trade out these Phoenix a little bit, but for good kills, which I think is what he's going to go for here. Might be doing Lambo a bit of a favor if he cleans up a few of these drones, but yeah, Lambo's bank is accumulating. The thing is, what does he do with it?
Yeah, like, I actually think that keeping the Phoenix alive will be nice because Lambo is going to obviously morph a couple of the Corruptors into Broodlords. I think at this point, SKillous must know as well that there is a good chance Lambo has gone for a Greatest Fire, and that's where the Phoenixes will still be useful. Like, I just don't see how Lambo gets even decent fights, right, where he can use some of that mighty fine Zerg bank. The only thing we can hope for is like 50, 60, 70 Banelings just crashing into literally everything. And if he then pushes SKillous back, then obviously it's going to be a good thing. And SKillous is just roaming around with his Phoenix now as well, on the bottom side of the map, trying to get a bit of a scout off. Like, how does Lambo fight at the moment, Ben? I just don't see it.
Me neither. I think if SKillous just waits for those 3 extra carriers that he just built and goes straight down the middle, I think that's the way to kill Lambo. Like, because
Lambo's
got so much static defense at these bases, which again, against the whole army won't do that much. And I mean, he does have a lot of banelings, which are very supply efficient.
Yeah, but Lambo did kind of scare SKillous there, and that was obviously good army movement by Lambo, because that's going to force SKillous back. And SKillous is almost being overly defensive. I can see one way, obviously, that SKillous is going to lose this game, and that is that if he sits back for way too long, where Lambo is going to be able to trade out these drones, lower them for more static defenses, more buildings, and then we go into Corruptus, Vipers, you know, proper ultra late game. But if we just go in the near future, it should be fine. Lambo still feels that this is a fight he wants to take. He has a lot of banelings. Most of the links have disappeared. The roaches and lings and banes are doing pretty decent on the ground. The corrupt account is somewhat all right. Obviously not a bad effort by Lambo at all, but he won't get all the carriers.
Certainly won't, but look at those supplies, man. Like, Lambo took a really good fight there. May not have been clean, but he actually traded more than efficiently. Like, before that fight, the resource last tab was like 4 times in Skillus's favor. Now, not at all. And look at that, 15 Corruptors and 39 Banes. He was rich.
Yeah, and like the supply was a bit deceiving because Lambo was already remaxing right during it, and I feel like SKillous took it a little bit easier. But yeah, that is one good way to get rid of your monstrous bank, and obviously it worked out. And the longer the game goes, the better it will be for Lambo, because then he will obviously get better upgrades on the Corruptus. And the one place you never want to find yourself at is you have Corruptus with 0 armor upgrades, 0 carapace, and the Protoss gets +2 or even +3 on the Skytoss units, because that is a bit of a disaster. Queens are now attacking a Nexus. SKillous may be a little bit concerned about fighting again, because links with Adrenal Glands are so damn terrifying. Here come the Corruptors. The carriers are pretty far away from shield batteries. And Archon is stuck there, and Lambo's just rolling all over SKillous here, man. He has just completely reset the Skytoss numbers. And if I was SKillous, I would maybe almost give up on this and just try to win on the ground, as he does still have a decent amount of ground units. But that was not a great fight for Lambo.
Yeah, it feels like Skillous isn't prepared for any one of these fights happening, right? And he just keeps getting caught off guard. He's going into the carriers again, which I think is a fine call, because we see Lambo's actually going for the Broodlords here, which I think is a great call by him. Because I think as soon as those Broodlords comes out, if he just starts pushing, what can Skillous do?
We have a couple of Phoenixes that had a lot of energy harassing one of the bases on the bottom side. Man, I felt that SKillous really missed moments where his army was so powerful compared to the army of Lambo. Lambo had so many drones. Now, obviously, we are looking at a completely different game. That final fight, SKillous actually lost like 2,500 resources more than Lambo. And that's just crazy, because normally that's not the way that PvZ fights work. The Broodlords are here, and it does not feel that SKillous has a great answer for them. Maybe waiting for some storms, but the storms are not quite ready yet, and the Banelings are connecting with High Templars, with Probes. Final 3 High Templars are stuck in the back, and they will all fall. The carriers will fall, and Lambo still going strong with 187 supply will still tie things up. Man, that is honestly a pretty wild game, where SKillous had a crazy greedy good start, then was ready for the Mutas before the Mutas even showed up. But then he just didn't do anything, while he had a much better army for quite some time.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised that he didn't kind of just push it, you know, like just go, because those Archons at that point, I feel like if you spread those out, there's kind of nothing to deal with them, you know. Pure Ling Bane, it's all well and good, but those are +2 Archons, man. Like, they're going to be absolutely blitzing those units on the ground. Missed a window. I also think if you're playing that greedy, like with that many bases that quickly and doing all those things, it never felt like his probe count was out of control. I feel like a much higher probe count would have helped him just get the max up going, so once the push starts, he could have kept it going as well. As soon as you start playing the I'm going to have one fight that's really good for me game, and the Zerg is that rich, like that's just one fight in you, but it's many fights in the Zerg. And it felt like those fights as well for Lambo, he actually just took it by the horns. And yeah, SKillous wasn't prepared.
Nope, especially the second part of like the first fight was obviously a bit of a trade, but was a good one for Lambo, because he was able to get rid of that monstrous bank, and SKillous had a much harder time remaxing out. Second fight, SKillous is curious, but it's kind of sitting there. He never expected Lambo to be ready that quickly again and just go for it. And he did go for it. But SKillous normally is so good in being aggressive, being out on the map, making that prism, and then just go for it. He believes in his Stalker Micro, and Stalker Archon against Roach Ravager Ling is a fight that he normally excels. But perhaps it was the amazing creep spread from this man that terrified him, and also the poking and prodding with potential counters. Maybe that is what kept him at home. This man managed to tie things up on Dynasty after making Mutalisk that didn't get a whole lot done. It's Shopify Rebellion's a Lambo.
And this man over here in the top right channeling his inner Rotterdam, it is SKillous. Not this game though. The first game that he's actually scouting. Oh no, he's not scouting yet, but it is a gateway.
No, he's
not
scouting.
Nexus first. He is?
He did scout. Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm going blind, Kev.
We already knew that, Ben. You know that desktop icon you click every single day? That doesn't say StarCraft 2, Ben.
Oh, the one with an elephant icon on it?
Yeah. The elephant is not a marine. I keep trying to tell you. But
My elephants have stim pack, mate. They're still marines to me. All right, so far, like SKillous has been playing like a very single player-esque version of Protoss, like just doing his build and just kind of working from there. And it's been all about Lambo reacting to what he's doing. First game got called off. I like the fact that he kind of went for it again, because I do like the term for ain't broke, don't fix it. But the second game, Lambo definitely clued into what was going on a lot better. And yeah, he played that solid style that we all know he likes to play, where he just gets together a lot of units, a lot of macro. The mutas absolutely failed, but it didn't matter. I really feel that Lambo has become much better mentally, that even if plans don't work out, it's always good to have these follow-up plans behind them.
Yeah, he's not stubborn in his ways. He is definitely willing to transition out. And he had another game that wasn't quite like that, but was somewhat similar, where the mutas were also not that great. But then he said, like, I always felt like it was going to be all right. I knew that I would have enough time to transition into Hive, and then went for Hydras in that game around. So yeah, he doesn't seem to panic too quickly. It's not really about a gamble anymore, right? Like, I go for a Spire. I'm going to try to catch him off guard with mutas. I hope he's not ready. Because even if they are ready, Lambo does often have a plan B or a plan C, and it's really cool to see how much he has grown as a player as well, despite the fact that he has been one of the best in Europe for quite some time. I think it was a lot of SKillous just being intimidated by the fact that I think he was up 1-0 over Lambo, and then you look at the minimap and it was all purple, right? And that's terrifying. And then you start believing a little bit less in your army. And then the one time that he did make that little move out in the top left side and he started poking the spines, if they would have fought there, SKillous would have had a great fight, even near the spines. But Lambo revealed all the Lings and the Banes on the minimap at the top right side, or at least at the 12 o'clock base, and then SKillous like, oh no, I don't want to move out and lose all my probes. So he went back, and Lambo just bought more and more time for himself. And normally I feel SKillous has crazy killer instinct, but not that game.
No, it actually felt that SKillous was a little bit timid, maybe a little bit scared of Lambo, and he didn't have to be. Like, you know all those videos where it's like this little kid's getting bullied by this little guy, and it's like, kid, turn around, hit him in the head. And it's like, he just doesn't. It very much felt like SKillous was in that position until the little kid had his growth spurt and then just kind of bonked him back.
And like, as much as I love carriers, it didn't really feel that carriers were a necessity in that game, because the Phoenixes were already there. They were going to do totally fine against the Mutas and the Corruptors. And then you have a ground army which was simply bigger and better than the ground army of Lambo. So if we then go into carriers, we are basically responsible as the Protoss for slowing the game down. And that works out well for the guy with 99 drones.
Absolutely. Like, we were watching that, right? And it was like, we're kind of scared for Lambo, because we were thinking once those mutas get shut down, SKillous moves across the map. It just never happened. It just never happened. And as soon as those mutas died, Lambo was gearing up for that with all that static defense. He was ready for what his weakness probably was, but yeah, it just never came. SKillous maybe didn't judge where he was in the game super damn well, or at least didn't judge where his opponent was super well.
Yeah. Once more, maybe the minimap intimidated him, right? Because Lambo's creep spread is really good in this day and age. And if everywhere you look down the ramp there is creep, you're like, oh no, he's going to be so ready. Lambo's firing up a decent amount of overlords there, man. Was supply blocked for a split second. Not a big one or anything, but then had 6 overlords at once on the way. Still running around with a couple of links, trying to be a nuisance on the other side of the map, as he is aiming for another +1 melee build. Gets the adept and 1 link. Oh, now he's just showing up.
Certainly is. He only has 9 links on the field. Okay, he is making a bunch more. In fact, they're just about to pop here. So SKillous trying to get a little bit of damage done. These Adepts are in a bit of a spicy position here. The Queens, I think they could do a little bit more damage to these Adepts. But overall, all things said and done, nice little cleanup for Lambo. Doesn't take too much damage whatsoever.
Yeah, also not too bad from SKillous. And now maybe the doors are open somewhere, unfortunately for SKillous. His oracles fly into the one base where there were still 3 queens. That would have been a picture-perfect moment for these oracles to roam around, rotate towards the bottom side of the map and fly into the main base, right? Because the queens were either in the natural or the third. But what SKillous is at least doing is that he's causing a bit of a delay on a potential 4th hatchery going down. So Lambo feels like, all right, had enough of trying to take the one at 9 o'clock. I'll take the one at 6 o'clock. But overall, I think that was pretty fine by both sides, right? Just high-level play, but nobody really making a mistake.
Yeah, no, it's just a constant test of each other, isn't it? Where it's like, I mean, StarCraft 2 is a battle of many little battles going on, and if they all collide,
can these oracles get a cancel? I think they can, right?
They can. I think they can. The queens are quite far away here, and that hatchery is going to fall. So nice use of these oracles. Keeping all 3 alive is definitely a good thing to do. That's cheeky.
Yeah, I mean, that just made us lose 18 extra minerals. I don't know if that's going to make or break the game, but yeah, that's a big cancel, right? This matchup is often about Zerg, obviously 4 base, Protoss on 3. Now they're trying to go up to 4 base. At the same time, SKillous was very late with the cancel there, but he does manage to get the cancel in the end. And the oracles, what I kind of like this game is that he didn't throw random revelation after random revelation at like 2 things that are never going to reveal something. And that's why he had so much energy on these oracles, and he can actually do this. Now Lambo has once more dropped the Fireman, as the oracles are going to try their luck again. Okay, I didn't see that kill. I'm taking a look at the oracles on the other side of the map. Lambo does not want to be a 3-base Zerg here. Can the queens come in time to save the day? Oracles doing their best, and the queens will save the day. Now that's big.
Yeah, getting the kill on that Nexus and not getting the cancel on his hatchery. One of the oracles just had too few energy. I see SKillous shaking his head a little bit here as well. These oracles do dive in, get a few kills though. And he's kept the damage pretty spread amidst them. But Lambo, he's gearing up, man. There's a lot of lings out in the field. And these Stalkers just used his blink. He has to be careful here.
Yeah, Lambo's economy, like, it's only 66 rounds, but it does. Look at that bank. Lambo had a monstrous bank just waiting for that Spire to finish up. Fires up 14 meters now. And unlike the last game, SKillous has not dialed into the fact that this could be Midas again. I don't see a Phoenix. I don't see random cannons or batteries going down in the main base, natural, or the 3rd base. He's not thinking about it yet. And this is way, way more Midas than we had in the previous game as well.
It's a massive commitment. I mean, there's some Archons going up somewhere. They're at the 4th base, but where are these Mutas? Are they going to reveal themselves against this army? I mean, if they do and they get a recall, it's a nice early recall here. Probably will lose quite a few, but better having the Mutas revealed here than in your probe line somewhere, right?
That is true, but that would still scare the hell out of me. Be like, whoa, that was all of a sudden Love Zerg. Now, Archons near a battery, though. They can do very well against both Mutas and Lynx. A Revelation did land on the Midas. That's going to help SKillous a little bit. And now Lambo's trying to open the floodgate. Is this the fight Lambo wants to take against 3 Archons? Nope, but the fight that Lambo does want to take is in the natural. He tries to make all these links enter the main base. That's big, but we do have the Stalkers chasing. There is a little battery finishing up there. Lambo is losing a lot of supply, and he hasn't killed a crazy amount of workers yet. That's the battery overcharge for the ages. My goodness, SKillous is still not losing a lot then.
Lambo's done nothing but crank out units as well. I think he thought it was going to go way better.
Zealous on the other side of the map just killed one of the hatcheries too. That low HP hatchery got picked off. I'm sure he thought it went way better. And actually, I kind of thought it was going to go way better as well. Especially when he thought he was going to run into juicy Archon hits. Especially when he opened the floodgates into the natural. You think, okay, this is where things spiral out of control, right? And 25, 30 probes go down. But SKillous handled that about as well as he ever could have handled it. And now once more, you gotta say like, hey, we like where this is going for SKillous. The bailing count at the moment is non-existent. We're looking at 0 bailings for Lambo.
Really bad. Like, this army is not made for a straight up engagement. It's made for running around. It's got the speed. It's got the tempo. It doesn't have the brute force to deal with 5 bloody Archons. I feel like the 5 Archons alone could almost deal with it, which is crazy to say. And Lambo, he knows it. He can't engage it. He has to attack.
No recall available, though, for SKillous, who is going to see that Lambo has now made it to the other side of the map, and I think we're going to have a good old base trade on our hands, Ben. If I was SKillous right now, I'd focus on defending one base, except the fact that your natural is going to die. Your main base is most likely going to die. It's probably the triangle base, where he has like 3 cannons, 2 batteries, where he shoots Warpy and everything. Instead, SKillous says, nope, I want to defend that other base, where he also has cannons and batteries. Now, Lambo is in trouble. Like, +2 links are great in base trading, but he has trouble cleaning up a battery and a cannon in the main base. 25 workers have gone down on both sides, but you look at that army of SKillous and you wonder, how will it ever die?
How will it ever die, indeed? I mean, Lambo is ahead in supply, but...
He's going to try it, Ben.
Holy
Ben,
crap, it's so many... Oh, no! So many mutas! So many mutas! They're without the lings as well, Kev. I don't think this is what Lambo wants at all.
Well, Lambo decided that is what he wants, but it's absolutely not going to go his way.